Hey, what's up everyone? It's Blitz tier list time yet again. A lot has happened in the Blitz meta. I was complaining a few days ago about Briar being absolutely broken in Blitz in general. So I've put out some surveys on Discord, YouTube, Twitter and the likes to gather some data. A lot of you have been sending me quite a bit of Blitz data from your local armory events, and I can now have a little bit more of a, overview of what the metagame looks like. Normally when I make my Blitz tier list videos, it's through my personal testing. Like I tend to test most of these heroes in a significant amount of games and then base my win rates off that. However, I want to get a proper overview going forward, and I feel that if people keep sending me in their win results and I can keep putting them into the spreadsheet, that will give a much better overview in general. I do fear though that there might be people that send me in fake data, which is one of the reasons why I used to be doing all the games by myself. However, like right now, every time the meta shifts a bit, I have maybe time for like 50 to 100 games per hero, and that's just not enough to get a very accurate win percentage in general. So I'm just going to trust everyone that whatever you send me is real data and you're not really sending me fake stuff in. But if I do see some weird outlier, I might just take that data set out completely, just because I don't want data to be skewed in general. So from what I've gathered so far, like a lot of heroes seem to have downshifted a bit. I probably need to adjust the tier list to visualize like what I see as a S tier. Like S tier I consider 56% or higher win rate. This one is probably like 50% up to like 55%. There we go. Then the B tier, that's a bit of a tough one. But let's be generous and put 41. Actually 40% all the way up to 49% can be B tier. This one can be 30% up to 39%, and then finally the D tier are just areas that are not performing at all, that have under 30% win rate. And yeah, let's get started right away. Let's get the 30% heroes out the way right away. As much as I like Levia and I tried to make her work myself in the past, it's a under 30% win rate hero right now. Same with Shiana, Data Doll. KO, it really depends. It's kind of a gambling hero, but I've seen sometimes KO can spike events, sometimes he just doesn't perform at all. I'll put him at 30% for now, just because of the unpredictable nature of the deck. We need much more data for KO in general. Like I think right now I have like maybe like I have less than 20 games for KO in armor events, so if you're a KO player, please send me in your results so I can get a better overview of this deck in general. Let's see what else we have. Kefdane is not performing at all either. Benji is doing decent. Like if he can win the dice roll and he can chunk in like a bunch of damage early on, he seems to win the games rather easily. But there's a bunch of decks that seem to jank him out quite a bit. If he could consistently get a good turn 1, he might have even gone up to 50% win rate. Maybe in FFS we get something that finally makes Benji relevant. Maybe something that buffs his damage on hit. That would be kind of good. I think that's something Benji kind of needs. Maybe an equipment piece, like if you, let's say, if you attack with, if an attack that deals 2 damage or less connects, that you get a damage buff or something like that, then Benji will probably do quite well. What else do we have first? Anything else? Yeah, Kasai is one of the heroes I'm quite sad about, but Kasai is not really performing anymore. Like I believe before I had her in the B tier or maybe even A tier, but she is being punished rather badly by Briar in general, and also with the increase in Kano players, which we will get into soon. So Kasai is unfortunately sitting right here. Same with Azalea. Azalea, if there are a lot of Briar players, she even dunks all the way under 30%, but on average she seems to be still holding her ground rather decently in the hands of good players. I did have some data from players that seem to be losing every single game with this deck, but I had to take those out of the data set. Maybe I shouldn't, but then she drops all the way down to 30%. Players that I know that perform rather decently with Azalea in general seem to be hitting around that 38% win mark with the deck, which is not really good, anything to write home about, but it does mean the deck has some potential that is underexplored, and I hope that we get some kind of an upgrade for the deck again. Like, this deck just keeps on needing more and more upgrades, doesn't it? Like, it got a bunch of new stuff over in the Tales of Aria set, and now it's still not performing, which is rather sad. Lexi, on the other hand, is doing a bit better. She is not really getting 50% win rate in Blitz. I think this is partially due to the fact that she needs quite a lot of setup, and she needs to be rather lucky to be able to fuse her arrows properly, and in the current Blitz format everything is rather fast. So she is sitting around the 40 to 49% win rate. And yeah, I think that leaves us with all the interesting heroes. Yeah, Dash is also sitting around here alongside Katsu as well. And yeah, let's get into the rest then, shall we? So previously I had Ira and Dorantia over in the S tier. It seems that both of these have around a 50% win rate against the deck. That has kind of pushed their overall win rate down a bit under the 55% mark. They are very close to the 55% though, like almost S tier, but not there quite yet. Chain as well. Chain is, I think if I remember correctly, he has around like a 52 to 54% win rate, which is still rather decent, but nowhere close to the numbers that Briar herself is pulling off. Reiner, I thought Reiner would be like a 40 to 49% win rate, but the metagame over in Hong Kong seems to have proven that Reiner is doing quite well currently, so this is definitely a deck that is worth picking up if you want something that does well against the current metagame. However, this is specifically in Hong Kong. Like, there aren't many metagames around the world where Reiner is played much in Blitz, except in Hong Kong, so maybe that has partially to do with the metagame there, because I do notice a lot of people seem to go for decks like Ira, like Kano, like Brian. He seems to do rather well against that. All team I thought would be either S tier or A tier, but unfortunately there seems to still be a lot of players that draw this deck into a draw. Not necessarily the all team players themselves, but a lot has to do with opponents that don't really know how to play against a deck like this, and they take way too long to kind of work around all the Frostbite and Channel Lake Frigate and stuff like that. Because of that, this deck unfortunately sits around, I think around a 48-49% win rate from what I can see from the data right now. Maybe a little bit higher, but it's not really performing as well as it should be. And if you are up against an all-team player, please play a little bit faster, because this deck is rather slow and we cannot keep on having people going into a draw. That's just a shame, because this is a perfect deck that would potentially be able to counter a deck like Briar, but because of the setup time it cannot really do that, which is really sad, to be honest. Prism. Prism in the current metagame is not performing well, unfortunately. She's sitting between 30 to 39% win rate, mainly because there is a lot of aggro decks in the format, like Dorantia, Ira. Kano is quite popular now, Briar is very popular, and now we even see an increase in decks like Reiner, so Prism is not really performing the way it should be. Viscera, on the other hand, is doing surprisingly well. The OTK built with Bloodsheet Skeletor and Sonata Cannings is doing really well in the hands of very good players. I've even seen it perform close to the 60% win rate from the limited data that I did gather, but on average it's sitting between 50 to 55%. I think this deck is also worth exploring. It has a bit of a rough matchup against Briar as well, I guess. I haven't really tested it myself, because this deck needs quite a lot of time of setup, and Briar doesn't really give people the opportunity to set up. Bravo is sitting around 50 to 52%, I believe, so it's also an A tier hero that is doing rather decent against the current metagame. Bolton, unfortunately, it's now in the B tier. I'm not sure if it was in the B tier in the previous video, but the deck is still good. The Luminous Ascension still works, but as soon as a deck like this gets up against a Briar or a Kano player, it's just game over. Like, they cannot keep on blocking all the damage that they put out, and once these decks go off with the Tome of Yendel with some draws, or in case of Plunder runs and Briar, then Bolton just gets completely slapped into the floor and cannot really make a comeback there. The S tier heroes as of now are Briar and Kano, and here's the thing that I really want to share with everyone, and that's the fact that Kano, from the data I've gathered so far, seems to be beating the Briar decks by a 60% margin. That's very, very significant, and if you are in a meta where this deck is really dominant, I would really suggest maybe picking up a Kano deck or suggesting a local player to start playing Kano, because this deck really keeps Briar in check. At the same time, Reiner seems to keep both of these in check as well, and then these two keep Reiner in check, which kind of creates like a very nice meta triangle, if that makes sense. But overall, I think the best decks right now are Briar and Kano. But yeah, I guess that is mostly my coverage for the Blitz format at this particular point of time. I'm really curious what ban list is going to look like once LSS has decided what they want to do with Briar in general. But if you're looking for a deck to really dominate the current metagame and that requires a lot of mastery, I think Kano is the deck to pick up right now. I will probably do a Kano video sometime next week or even this week where I cover this deck to maybe make some newer players aware of how this deck functions and how they can start practicing, or maybe at what part to start and with what kind of list. But yeah, it's doing rather decently, and this is my tier list right now with the data that I've received. So I want to say thank you to everyone that has been buying my playmats over on my website kuganegaming.com, also the people that have been supporting me over on Patreon. The financial burden with this channel is becoming less and less every month, which is something I'm very happy about. So if you want to support me, you can always pick up a playmat and you have something you can play with, and I also get a decent chunk of income through that venue. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, maybe even hit the notification bell, and once I gather more data, please keep sending in your armory results, not just who won the armory, but the individual matchups as well, at least from your point of view, so that I can keep on putting them into the Excel sheet and maybe get a more optimized, streamlined tier list right here. But as it stands right now, this is the tier list. And yeah, that's all from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all soon. Take care.